Welcome back, folks. This is podcast number 8 for us episode. We have a good one today. We have Dave McCormick, aka Fish 30. If you guys are from around here, everybody knows who Fish 30 is. This guy is a hammer on Truman Lake. There was a fudge everywhere around here. Yeah, I'm
Once the
geeking.
Blue Moon at Table Rock.
Yeah, I'm geeking a little bit because I've been a subscriber since he had like 30. Oh yeah.
We've come a long ways then.
Oh yeah, I've learned a lot from your videos on Lake of the Ozarks because that was the closest lake to me. So I watched.
I get it. I love the lake. We just do it in the winter. It's just kind of a thing. I got a good buddy. He's got a house down there. I'm trying to talk him in this weekend, and he's told me his house is full of people, and he's got to cook, and he's got to drive the ski boat because everybody else will probably be
Yeah.
3 beers in. And so he said, Dave, I can't come. You might have to fish that alone. I was like, what?
Yeah,
It is a great lake. I love Lake of the Ozarks. It's just this time of the year. It's it's just not for everybody. It's a little busy.
yeah,
But man, when there's current, that place is truly, that's one of the most spectacular fishing events I've ever experienced. Is when they're post spawn and they're letting so much water out of Lake of the Ozarks, and you're down there on that lower end fishing with a big football jig on the main lake points. And I mean, oh my goodness, when they're ripping that lake, it kind of seems to line them up down there.
yeah.
I would imagine that's probably going on right now. I haven't been.
How are you able to stand straight on the boat? Is my question.
Well, you'd have to almost go in the week. You'd almost have to do it during the week to really. I mean, I don't know about derbies. They don't have. I don't know. I'm sure it's pretty rough to have a tournament this time of year like the Ozarks. We quit going just for safety.
Yeah,
But I do love it, and I spend almost the whole winter on it because Truman's not a very good winter fishery. I mean, it's not bad, but it freezes up. It tends to freeze, where it seems like Lake of the Ozarks, for the most part, stays free. So
yeah. Except this
I'm
year.
passionate about Lake of the Ozarks, but it's not my first love. Obviously, my first love is the one that's closer to my house.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like you said, that's why you love Lake of the Ozarks, because it's really close to you.
Yeah, it was until I moved to Nixa. Now Table Rock's my home lake now. When we first moved here, I had a hard time, but
I still do. That lake spins me out. It makes you feel like a hero one moment, and then just, oh my God, crickets.
that's
Seriously, that lake is.
that's the lake to do it.
It's definitely a heartbreaker.
You have to be a really good FFS guy to be competitive when they're not up on the bank. So
Yeah.
in the winter, sometimes, honestly, sometimes it's so good down there, because you can see your stick bait on the FF. But you can do the same thing at Lake the Ozarks, and it's closer to the house. So that's why we just don't go as much as I did when I was younger. When I was younger, I really hit the, ever starts and the strands and way back. I even fished the opens. Most people don't know I actually qualified for the top 150 through the opens way back when, it was 2003 or 4. And I got an invitation to the front door to come, but it was $55,000 in entrance fees for 11 events. And you had to come up with about 26 grand to play. And then halfway through, you were hoping you could come up with the other 26 or
Yeah.
so. And so I'm a pretty good businessman, and I know that was fiscal suicide.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any sponsors, but man, we fished those opens. I had a real good tournament, a pretty good tournament when Rick Clunn won.
Mm-hmm.
I busted the top 20 in it. And those were tough to do. That's really, but anymore, I just stay at home, and instead of having some big, national thought, I just spend my time on the YouTube channel.
And
honestly,
thanks for that.
It's a lot of work.
It
Other guys don't know that. And you see these guys jump into it and they jump back out of it, because there's not a whole lot of income out of it. And it's not, it's not really for making money, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't opened doors for you because it's opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
But I'm to the age where I can give the stuff away and still do good. Obviously, that's there was a couple. There was a YouTuber recently that was really bummed out on how much of his stuff was getting pounded that he showed, and I was like, well, you can't really show it if you don't want somebody to go try it. I mean, that's what it's for.
That's
But he's just not at that point in his life.
no, that's kind of
So,
funny. You mentioned that I caught a 7-pounder during the tournament. And when I was editing my video, I sat there contemplated a while if I wanted to post it or not.
Do I want to do this? Do I want to do
Yep.
this? And I think what negativity I do get. I think I have some people that thumb me down for the videos on the videos just because it shows too much, or you know what
Yeah.
it is.
Oh yeah.
It's maybe they think they own that spot too, and I shouldn't. Either way,
That's normal.
that's not the point of it, and I still can feel like I can win any event on many different spots. Or I'm really fishing more of a pattern when I'm fishing. I'm not. I'm trying to duplicate something as we go down the bank,
Mm-hmm.
or from spot to spot. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's all between your ears. It always is. Come
Yep.
on. We're all very similar in how we cast and our bait selections. Everything else is between the ears. So
Oh, you're 100% right. 100%.
I got friends that are really. I mean, that's the thing I do. I surround my friends with guys that really are good, and it just amazes me how some of my friends they just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear you're talking to me and you're saying, well, Dave, you do it. But that's at Truman Lake, but that's not everywhere. And honestly, I've got some friends that fish, a lot higher level than what I'm fishing at and are, making money doing it. So
Oh no, I understand. I do.
yeah, I'm not what everybody thinks I am. I am a good angler and I am willing to share the information, but I don't know that I'm a,
No, you're a hammer.
I'm not a superhero by any means.
You're a
I'm
hammer
just a
around here.
normal guy, actually.
That was my first tournament I fished on Lake of the Ozarks. Um, it was actually 2 years ago, and then I seen your Phoenix out there with the GoPros. I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. I seen you, and then I seen Casey Scantlin out there, and I can't remember his first name, Mr. Hibden.
Oh yeah, there's at least three of them, man. That you might see, and all of them can take your money.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
and my partner just looks at me. He's like, "Do we just go home?"
No. I can. It is. It's true. I here. Let me tell you this story. This will blow your mind. I had. I'm going to say that this was somewhere in the early '90s.
Uh-huh.
Rick Clunn had just come over to Nitro, and he had his own Nitro boats, and I bought one. And I was really just a crappie fisherman at that point, and it had a little 75 horsepower, and it's like a little 16-footer, and we went and did a Bass World out of PB2, and I'm telling you, and it was the olden Bob that started Bass World years ago, and he was a pretty rough fella, and I can remember we brought 3 fish up, and he was like mad that we brought him up to weigh him, and I remember my buddy said that was the worst thing. I'm never doing that, and I told him, you know what, dude, I'm gonna win one of those things, and I don't know, I could count them for you, but it's probably at least 12 Bass World wins in that case.
That's awesome.
So,
That's awesome.
So they said we got our asses whooped, and
It's humbling for sure.
it is what it is. So you live and learn, and you punch, and you get knocked down, you get up. Get knocked down, you get up. That's part of tournament fishing, and I don't know. There's something about it. Obviously, I love. I'm addicted to it.
Same.
All I want to think about.
Same. Like
Even when I'm at work.
exactly. I work with my brother, and my brother is my tournament partner.
Oh
And
no.
yeah. When we work together, and I have my own business, and we're working together and all day long, and we're like, dude, we should have tried this. We should have tried that. And it's like, well, maybe next time we go, we're going to go this spot or that spot, or maybe we should try brush piles or docks. You know, we're always like thinking. And then we get to the ramp and we're doing totally something different that we even talked about. And it's like, all right, we'll have like a practice day that we're,
Practice is important.
we'll
Like
sack.
that old Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
sack
you're
like
gonna make a good
18.
direct-
But the thing is, on that lake has taught me that your practice is not like it is important. It'll point you in the right direction, but you could fail miserably come tournament day, even though.
When I'm not filming, but when I'm filming, I'm using a hot hook, and I'm gonna set the hook every once in a while and film it. But
No.
you're not gonna win the Derby.
Oh no, you're right. And how many like let me ask you one thing with the dummy baits, how many of those fish do you think you actually that hit your bait actually
I
eat
think
it
I go
again?
back and I catch them. I think I go back and catch the exact fish, because when you're brush pile fishing in the winter at Lake of the Ozarks,
Oof, I love that.
you should have a dummy. You should have a dummy on, because it's dunk, and you can literally work them up. They are so dumb in the cold water. I can literally pull them up. They're shaking, coming up, and see them with my eyes before they spit it. And they go right back to the pile, and they are no negativity, nothing. Matter of fact, if you throw the dummy right back in, they grab it again.
Well, thanks, Dave. I'm gonna have to try that.
Speaking of dummies, I felt like a
It's
dummy
for
on Truman this
sure.
weekend.
Most of these guys that are taking your money, they're probably not catching their fish the day before, or they just don't go practice. I a lot of times just don't go practice. I just feel like I'm confident enough that if I put my money down, it was all because, it was, I put my money down because I think I'm as good as anybody in that field.
Yeah. Do you fish a lot of history or no? Or do you more pattern the fish?
4 or 5 years ago, do you remember? It was cloudy, it was windy, the conditions were similar, and we did this. So yes, I do draw on history. I don't think anybody that tells you otherwise probably telling the truth. But I don't
Probably.
fish old history, but yet yes, you do. You go back and you fish the areas that you know the fish are in.
Yeah.
I'll say this: I lost yesterday
Hmm.
on a bank that I had never fished before, ever, ever, like ever.
Is this
And it was
Truman?
obviously a mistake, because when I threw that spinner bait across the top of that outside bush, and we saw it. It comes up and it elbows it, and
Hmm.
I couldn't even turn it, and it just went down the bank, and we kind of fall on it trying to. And no, damn, I know it was a 7 or 8, 9 pounder.
Was
Who
this
knows? It was a
on
giant
Truman?
bass, and we had 9 minutes, and we had a 15 and a half incher.
Yeah, that
We
was.
win that derby with just that. And I lost a 5 pounder 2 hours earlier, same scenario, but it jumped up eye height and spit the spinner bait. I don't understand it, but that's tournament bass fishing. I'm definitely not as good with the spinner bait as maybe some of my buddies, but I'm not gonna not try.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they were just all of a sudden, after all that pressure of the BFL on Saturday, and then it's Sunday's Derby, which was just the average Joe.
Hmm.
And it went 19, 17, 16, 15. He paid 4 places. Casey Scanlon's partner, Ronnie Kane,
Hmm.
and Kit Luge, they came in third. They had either high 15s or low 16s, something like that. But
Wow.
so it even kicked them out better. I'm telling you, anytime you have that many boats on the water, there were 8 tournaments the day the BFL was on. So, and obviously the
Really?
BFL was the biggest one, but there were 8 different events. Now they all weren't bass tournaments. There was a big crappie tournament. Crappie Masters came out of Bucksaw, and
That ain't that far.
no, and they come down. We saw some of them. We talked to some of them, but we just think that the pressure, not necessarily from fishing baits in front of the
Hmm.
fish, but from the sound and the motion and the feel we give the lake when 4 or 5, 600 boats are out.
Yeah, and plus all the
So,
wakeboard boats and the jet skis and
right. I
pontoons.
mean, I think it does. We think it just tightens them up to the stuff. I
I
don't know.
I was
The
sitting right.
current makes them tight to the bottom anyway. It seems like flipping them bushes. It wasn't until you were out of the current could they be up in the bush. It seemed like most of the fish out in the current, they were like down there in the base of the bush.
I was sitting
So
out there on that.
getting them to come up to a spinnerbait's a real challenge. But we figured out that if you get out of the current, get back in the pockets, that's where you'd have a opportunity at a moving bite would be somewhere where it was a little dirtier, which isn't hard to find. There's kind of pretty clear water and then really dirty water. So we went over to and fished in some little bit dirtier water, and lo and behold, the spinnerbait was working almost immediately. We had a 5 pounder right off the bat. So
I,
I was like, whoa. And we only had like 2.5 hours left in that derby. So we didn't figure it out till late. But boy, I had the bites to win it there at the very end.
man, that's
My wife says that's why you like it, honey.
it.
You wouldn't go back. If that
It,
stuff didn't happen, you wouldn't go back. But,
she ain't wrong either.
well, there's an element to it. What it does make me want to do is go right then. I'm like, gosh, I'd call in sick and we'd go fish a derby on Monday if there was one. There
Oh
isn't
yeah.
one, thankfully. That's how I haven't ended up in the poorhouse, but
We have
you only
enough of
do it on the weekend.
Yeah, we have enough of the night tournaments on Table Rock that if you wanted to, you could fish every day.
It's
I
ridiculous.
don't know
You
about
get
you, but I can't do a night tournament. It messes me up I can't go to work the next day.
Oh, work sucks.
they got like 18 tournaments a week on Table Rock.
No, I believe it, but and it's pretty much every lake. There's quite a bit of tournament pressure, but I don't know. We are catching and releasing them. So, and my grandparents ate them. So, I mean,
Hmm.
well, they didn't turn them loose; they ate everything they caught, and so I think catch and release does work. But to think that there's no mortality to our game is not reality, and
You're right.
we're pretty sure we had one that wasn't going to make it after we let it go yesterday. I mean, it swam off, but I was like, its eyes didn't look right. I've been playing with it in the live well the last couple hours, looking at it.
Yeah.
So,
We
you
had
know,
we had a spot do that on Table Rock. We let him go and he just swam off and then he went belly up and he went back into live well and went home with us.
right. Well, it is what it is. But put it in perspective. Your grandparents, and of course, there were a lot less of us doing it back then.
Yeah,
Um, ate them.
that was
So
right.
I don't know. I think a certain amount of harvesting is necessary. We've proven that in the ponds. You have to take some out for the whole thing, for the health of the whole. So I think maybe that is something that we have to keep in mind that is a renewable resource. You know, and lakes do cycle. Have you been watching Mark Twain?
I have not, no. I actually don't follow Mark Twain at all. I haven't even
Okay,
been up
well,
to
okay. Well, my history with Mark Twain is way back in the '90s, and I'm telling you, the lake was horrible. It's full of timber like Truman. You
Hmm.
could tear your stuff up real easy and not catch them. But they had a tournament, an FX series, kind of a benefit tournament
Okay.
on Saturday. And I'm going to tell you, it looked like they had 7 fish that came in over 5 3/4 pounds, all the way to almost 8. A
Wow.
couple 7s, a bunch, I was like, are you kidding? And these big weights.
And
And
that
it's
look.
been that, and you look back, I thought Mark Twain would have a hard time keeping up with Truman in overall weight.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, it's kicking our butt.
That's the thing with like
It is.
Table Rock last year was on fire. We were putting out 20, 25 pound bags left and right. And then this year I was watching the weights on Truman. I'm like, wait a minute. Truman's the one that's on fire.
I saw a 6-fish limit, 34.93 come in before A-rigs, before forward facing. Couple guys caught him on grubs in March.
On Truman?
No, that was Table Rock.
Dude.
It was a Midwest Outdoors tournament back then, 225, 30 boat tournament, huge tournament. And it was a 6-fish limit back then.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the biggest sack of fish I'd ever seen. They were roughly 6 pounds apiece,
Mm-hmm.
Table Rock. And I'm going to tell you, that was in the 90s. So Table Rock has been much better than what you're seeing, believe it or not.
Well, I'm sure. A lot of the guys telling me that.
Every 8 years, it'll go real good. And then 8 years later, it's going to be at the bottom, cycling back up. So I don't know. I think Truman's probably on an upward cycle. I'm kind of worried that like the Ozarks is on a downward cycle. And I'm thinking that Table Rock is on a downward cycle, but that's just saying that better times are ahead. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how fishing is.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be, the lake's not always going to be the same. This high water may do some, who knows? You guys down there at Table Rock are facing some epic conditions. I don't know if you're following that.
Oh, yeah.
Beaver's wide open and she can't take anymore. And her gates are like wide open. So she's feeding you as much as she can, and you're gonna end up. I mean, I don't know. Bull shoals can only be about 31 when she's completely.
Yeah.
And then we all have to let go. The White River chain is actually a lot closer to that than people realize. I've seen it where it's 31 at Bull, and Taneycomo's in the streets in Branson.
Yeah.
And that was before they even had the side gate, the new gates open at Table Rock. So it's not something that's new, but man, it's really kind of bad.
I kind of think
The White River, we're not having that on the Osage. We're not having that at Truman. I mean, we've been up, but 10 or 11 feet is nothing for us.
no.
But
No, it's not.
you guys are, I won a tournament, or I didn't win it. I don't think I won it. Did I? It's one of my very first videos. Truman was 31 feet high, and I was fishing a parking lot of a kind of like a community boat ramp.
Yep.
South of Osage Bluff. And
didn't you catch one out of a picnic table or something like that?
No. Well, those were all, I was fishing the stops, what you would run up to in your car to stop. And there were some little ornamental trees and a couple cedars that they had trimmed up where you park your car.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no cars there because the water's there. But there was, at 31 feet, that made it 5 feet in that parking lot. And it's a wicked high spot with current coming across it. And they were just there. And I sat there all day. I want to think I won that event, but maybe I didn't.
I remember some of your early.
Was the highest I can remember ever fishing it. I think it was a Joe Bass event, and I don't think I won it. I think I got maybe 4th place, 3rd or 4th place. I fished alone that day because all my buddies were like, "Huh? We don't want to go 30 foot." I mean, that's crazy, Dave. What do you mean? I was like, somebody's got to catch him, right?
Yep.
I think I could be that guy. I know. Maybe I'm Maybe I'm just foolish, but
Hey, no, I'm the same way. One of my buddies come out with me, and on the way down there to Table Rock, because Table Rock is like flooded, as we all know.
oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're in like really wicked condition.
Yeah.
High
And then like you could either get on a offshore bite or you could get into people's backyards and fish.
yards.
Yeah.
Frog it.
Yeah, that's what, and we got way back, like we got kicking up dirt shallow. Yeah, that was a fun bite.
And what did you do it with the frog?
I did it with a buzzbait. I don't know. I've seen that you joined the motion team,
Absolutely.
which
I've
welcome.
and then it really, I'm not going to tell you I'm a super big bait guy. I was just, I'm previously just and and I was paying for my baits before, honestly,
Hmm.
and with another company, and I used to get them for free from that company, but that was a long time ago. And Bobby does a lot of things. Bobby Roberts, the guy who owns
Hmm.
Motion, does a lot for the fishing world. I
He
mean,
does.
and he's into the kids. He's not a, he's a giver. He's going to give knowledge. He's not going to, I mean, that's the deal. And he said, I want you on my team because you give your knowledge away. And I said, let me
Yep.
see what you got, because it's about the bait. The bait has to work. I can't.
No, 100%.
So I'm not a
100%.
faker. And so honestly, that was the first weekend. He gave me a little care package at first.
Hmm.
I'm going to say he probably threw maybe $100 worth of baits in a bag and gave them to me and said, here, try this, Dave. And I went out and I won the event with that little trial bag. And then I called him up and said, well, dude, the deal is I'm not going to want you to pay me or anything like that, but I'm going to need a big old box so that I'm not compelled to cheat on you. So I went back over, and it's absolutely the coolest thing ever. It's where the glide baits that everybody buys that just freaked out over, and him and Motion share a manufacturing
Yep.
space.
Clutch and motion together. Yep.
Clutch and Motion together. I was just like, I mean, there were, I don't know how many glide baits were there, but there were several hundred
Yeah.
in the process. And this is mind bending to me. And I'm going to ask them if they'll let me shoot a video. I don't know if they will. I heard, I heard a rumor that they might be moving. So
Clutches. Yeah.
Clutch is maybe moving to a
Yep.
bigger spot,
Yes, sir.
and maybe Bobby's going to need all that space anyway. Is kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, the thing is, why I mentioned motion is I am actually in the process of testing the prototype buzzbait. I don't know if you had your hands on them yet or not.
I haven't. I have not.
Dave,
You know me.
that's a good
Wanna-
one. It really is. I'm not gonna lie, it's a good one. It's one that you don't need to tune right out of the package. She's a good one, and that's what I've been tearing them up on in the people's backyards.
Oh yeah, no. I wanted to tell you a little story because it reminded me. I've done so many tournaments while Table Rock is high that we've just grown to have a pattern where we go and fish in areas that are manicured because then your bait can be seen. You can get, I mean, it just makes
Hmm.
perfect sense to go fish in those people's yards that are manicured and things like that. So, well, I had a pretty good sack of fish, and I was in a BFL, and it was before I taped, and I
Hmm.
can remember we're back like you get into their backyard, and you're underneath their shade trees now. And
Yeah.
so, I'm trying not to. I don't want to bump anything. I don't want to disturb anything. We're kind of up there. Uh, Intruding, in my opinion. And so the co-angler points out to the outside of the tree line. He says, look, they're schooling. And sure enough, there's something schooling out there, but I'm not sure really, doesn't look right to me. And I mean, it's massive. So I dial that sucker up to 10 and jump out from underneath those shade trees. And the only thing I got that's topwater is a frog. and I just fire it out into that group of crashing, jumping fish, and immediately set the hook, and this big old giant rainbow trout. I'm not kidding. 8 pound, better than 8 pounds, jumped straight up out of the water. And I was like, oh, great. I looked back at the co-angler and I said, oh, great. And he said, what have you got? I said, a salmon. He said, really? It's some salmon for sure. And get out the net. We're going to need to net this. And sure enough, we net that sucker. And it's a giant male. It's got the cape, and I've got this guy convinced it's a salmon. And just as I let it go, I said, no, it's a trout that escaped probably from Roaring River when it flooded, I don't know, 13 times in the last 30 years. Over 3 or 4 million trout have been accidentally let go. Every time that hatchery floods, they end up in
Table
Rock. So now we have guys that catch them on chop shots, and we catch them on jerk baits in the winter. So I know that they're there. I mean, these were huge adult rainbows in a school. And I'm not kidding you. This was 10 years ago.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that. I was fishing a Friday nighter with my buddy this past Friday, and on scope, I seen him down there, and it was a big blob. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be like a 3-4 pounder if he bites. I send it down there. He bites. It was a 4 pound rainbow. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And we were having a tough day as it is. And here you are catching rainbow trout. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, no, I was mortified. I was like, oh my God, I've never. And
A frog.
it doesn't happen. I caught one in the Kings in the winter once on a red crawler. And the water was kind of stained. I was kind of surprised that it was there.
Yeah.
But I caught one there. And other than that, I've heard people catching them, dropping down to them, seeing them on, forward facing, and being able to drop down to them, thinking they're, spotted bass, whatever.
That's what I thought it was.
And they do eat better. I would say that if you do get a hold of one, I mean, if you're not, they bonk pretty good, and you fry them up.
Yeah, I just don't know if there is even a size limit on Table Rock for trout. I don't even know what it.
I don't know. Most of the ones I catch are full grown.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, full grown. So it's got it. I'm sure it would be somewhere between 12 or 15, and the ones that I'm catching are way over 15.
Oh
so,
yeah. We had a guy.
I think he's a legal candidate to go home and get eaten, just like a walleye. Those would be the two fish, or a rock bass. I really like a rock bass.
Yes. Yes. Those three species right now will not go back to the water. Even if it's a derby day, I'm going to drop him in the cooler.
The Table Rock has something else. Or no, it's Bull Shoals that have. They got a few green, the ones that have got the bands on them from north.
Oh, the perch. Yeah.
That kind of perch. Who's actually a close second to a walleye. It's close, I mean, our greener sunfish and that perch are nowhere near each other in genetics,
Yeah.
So that one that you catch usually up north, gosh, when you fillet those things, dude, oh my God, that is that and those little rock bass. Those two things taste fairly similar to me. If you'll catch them, take them home. Do not have a day where you didn't clean them. You cleaned them and you fried them. Literally, they were alive. Now they're dead. Now they're in the hot oil, and they are just super fine eating.
Yeah, they are. I have a 9-year-old boy, and me and my boy go down the river, down to James, and we will just tear.
You catch some rock bass.
Oh yeah.
What do they call them?
Goggle eye. Yeah.
They're just a rock bass to us, and man, they get pretty big down there at Table Rock.
Oh yeah.
Bull Shoals and the Gasconade and some of them rivers down there got them real good, and you could actually bring them whatever the limit is.
And they're
fillet them up, and you'd really have something there.
Oh yeah.
Today I caught a 5-pound walleye trying to catch a bass.
Oh,
I'm hard pressed to let him go.
yeah, he's not going back. He's not going back. He
Those
don't.
guys spend a lot of money to go chase those things up north, and they eat them, and they do eat pretty good. I'm
They
not kidding.
do.
I've eaten a lot of those in my life. I got one I got caught in the Wakarusa River below Clinton Lake in Lawrence, where I grew up. And that night we took seven. Two of us took seven out of there, and the smallest one was 7 pounds. And I caught a 10-pound 7 ouncer the first night, and I took it to this guy up in Smithville who's like a crazy good taxidermist, and he travels around and he like competes. And I showed it, and I called him, and he told me what to do: borax, put it in this, freeze it, bring it to me, and it's a 10.8, and he's like, God, that's the best one we've seen this whole year.
Wow.
I mean, probably 5 years we've seen a fish this big. I said, I'm going again tonight. Let's just, and I told him we had 7 fish over 7 pounds. Let's just imagine I caught one bigger. What would you do? He said, well, you give me this 10.8 and I'd do your bigger one for free. And I was like, okay. And I caught an 11-pound 8 ounce.
That's insane. That's a big walleye.
Insane walleye. I've never.
That's a
Yeah.
giant.
Yeah.
They fight too.
Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't even in the boat. I was bank fishing. It was just a tick. Just felt like a big crappie tick. Just raise up. Yeah.
Yep.
It's current, so it took, I don't know, 7, 8 minutes to get it in. But
That
they run water in February. When they run water in February at Clinton, I figured this out living there. That feeds down about 8 to 10 miles to the Kaw River. It's the Wakarusa, and it goes to the Kaw. And the Kaw is full of big walleye. Most people don't know it, but it is. And they run up that. If the water starts early enough, they're compelled to want to spawn on the back of the dam in that current. And so about a mile down from the dam release is something the Corps put in there, and we called it the second ripple, but it's a waterfall. And to a certain point, it'll hold the fish from getting to where they want to be, all the way to where they want to be. And you have to be a local to know that. And so all those fish came in that section because they weren't releasing quite enough water to get them up over to the back of the dam. Because the Wakarusa is a pretty good stream, but it narrows down there behind the dam and gets fast and hard. And there's a waterfall, like a 5 or 6 foot waterfall. And if there's not enough water coming over it, a walleye isn't going to jump it like a salmon.
Yeah.
They'll just pool up there, and then it's live bait on a bobber, and you're just going to slay them. Or jigging a bobber, or even just a straight, I just throw a little sassy shad at them.
So
At night. It's all nighttime fishing. But I've eaten my fair share of walleyes. And I've been to Minnesota and Canada, and I love it. But, you don't want them Derby Day, right?
No.
Nobody wants a big walleye Derby Day because, A, you don't have the live well space for them. If you're working a big bag of fish, that walleye will tear your bass up.
I'll throw him in the cooler or right with my drinks.
Put him right in the cooler.
Yeah, right in the cooler with my drinks. I don't care. He's coming home.
I usually let them go Derby Day.
Oh no,
It's the one day that they get the.
Oh no, I have a brother. It doesn't matter what it is, what day it is. If it's a walleye and it's legal size, he's coming home. There's absolutely no mercy.
Soft side coolers are for. That's what your guy needs, a soft side cooler. We do, like this time of year, we keep a soft side full of frozen jugs.
Yeah.
For the live well. So that's probably where he'd end up.
Yeah.
If, I'd probably cut him, bleed him, and then put him in there in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
I might even gut him. I think that'd probably be okay too from a legal standpoint. Gut him and bleed him and get his gills out and put him in that cooler, and then he ain't gonna rot on you at all.
Yeah, you're right. Do you use like a lot of your waypoints? I don't know. I just kind of wanted to ask a question about like the tactics that you kind of employ on, like, say, practice
have
day.
no waypoints, honestly. I don't have
Really?
anything marked on any electronics. Years ago, we used to have maps that we would mark, but I know Truman so well, and I know Lake of the Ozarks so well, and I would say I've spent, I've been to Table Rock hundreds of times, so I don't know. I tend to use my electronics that day to set a waypoint. Think that I have some, but I do have spots that we always go to that we know when they're running current. Boy, they'll be on the pond dam. And like a pond dam at Truman that they run current over. Hardly anybody knows it's a pond dam,
Yeah.
but we're throwing our football jigs over a pond dam during the current. And I mean, I know that from old map studies from way back when. So if you wanted to call that a waypoint in my brain, yes, that's a waypoint in my brain that
So you don't
for the
really
younger guy at some point is probably his waypoint in his on his electronics. But keep in mind when I was learning our gig, I was holding a map down on the floor at 70 miles an hour, trying to. Oh, I can remember. Where did we go? We went someplace and covered in islands down in Arkansas and it had grass. Ouachita. Oh my God, most confusing lake. They all looked the same. All the islands looked the same. There wasn't any construction, so there was all the islands looked the same, and
hmm
pretty soon you'd be spinning around going, okay, which way's home? Literally.
I did that on
Before
Truman.
GPS. This is before GPS. We
Yeah.
had maps, and I would literally drive, holding it on the floor with my feet, so I could look down and see the landmark and kind of have an idea where I was.
Man, I bet
That's
a lot more
before
guys
you
got
had
lost.
chips and that stuff.
I bet
Obviously, once we had GPS, that was a big game changer.
yeah.
Going
If
for going to a new lake and being able to navigate, going to Rayburn or going to Toledo Bend
mhm.
without a chip. Oh my God!
I
I
could
think
imagine.
we had chips by the time I was going to Rayburn. We had GPS. Thank God. We didn't have spot lock. That was that's something I wish we had. Several days I can remember fighting the wind and trying to stay on the spot
You know
way off the shore at Rayburn.
something funny. I didn't get my spotlight. I didn't get an old Trex until last year. Before that, I was using a Fortrex. Yep.
Well,
I
go
came
four-wheel
to
drive, baby.
yeah, I I came to the game a little late.
So
And same thing with live scope. I didn't get a live scope till last year. I was fishing without one.
well, I mean, I don't use it the same way as a lot of
I
guys
don't
do,
either.
but I can see them, and I don't know this last video, that first 7 pounder, almost 7 pounder, six pounder that we caught on camera. I was telling Steve, dude, I can see two right here between the bank and us, and I got
hmm
one of them to bite, and then very next cast I think he got the fish on the left side to bite, but it could have been the one that bit mine. But either way, it was our big fish of the Derby. So I didn't see it into his mouth. I didn't watch Steve's bait go down or anything like that. I just glanced over, kind of looked at where it was in relationship to the bank, where I think he is.
Yeah.
And I don't stare at the damn thing. It would give me a headache that I won't want to fish if I have a big bad headache. So I'll use it to identify the fish are there. And I think everything else is confidence and years of experience. And, you know, maybe I'm foolish. I just think I can
No,
catch them all the time.
no, I use
Because
mine.
I've been doing it for so many years. It is a little old hat,
Yeah.
So I will say that is something that's nice about getting old.
No,
The
you're,
only thing I can say is that you do have some knowledge that the other guys don't have,
and
just because I've seen it before.
sometimes that can't be beat, no matter what you have.
No, I'm telling you, in all kinds of games, life in general, those kind
Yeah.
of things can't be beat usually. Just experience.
Yeah.
And more than that, confidence. It's confidence. And then you give me something new like these motion jigs, new colors that I haven't never showed all these fish I'm
Mhm.
friends with. I go show them this new color. Where'd you get that, Dave? So we won 3 tournaments in 4 weekends. So
Dang.
that's pretty very good now.
You're on a
And
streak.
I almost had a chance to win 4 in 4 weekends yesterday.
Yeah, thanks to you,
But
I can't get the gill candy.
I'm sorry, but we need to do that for Bobby.
No, I know. You're
It'll straighten up.
you're fine. I did the same thing like for the minnows that he came out with in January. He's like, "Here, try these." And I tried them and I wrecked them. I freaking wrecked them on the minnows. And then I started telling people and I'm like, "Hey, Bobby, I'm gonna need some more silver shads. I'm gonna need some more white ones." He's like, you're gonna have to wait, bud." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, we're sold out." I'm like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, I believe it. It is what it is.
Same thing with the jigs right now. I kind of started running low with the gill candy and the black and blues, and then I was like, "Hey, Bobby, I'm gonna need some more." He's like, we're out." But that's good. That's a good thing, though.
We're gonna. I've got good feelings about him and his company, and
Yeah, he's a good dude.
I really think there's a big company hiding there.
Yeah,
There's a really big company, like 6 Sense kind of
yep.
company, I think.
You're
hiding
absolutely
there.
right.
Now, maybe it's in its infancy stage right now, but I've been around a lot of successful people my whole life, and I can kind of feel that. He's not just saying that's it. He wants to change things. He wants to
Yeah,
better things. That's the other thing is he's already talking how he's asking my opinions on what we could do to increase the head coating, having it stay on longer. And I have some ideas I shared with him, and they're definitely proprietary and type stuff. And he is like,
he
he's all
listens.
ears. He's all
Yeah,
ears because
I love that.
he's not afraid to let maybe somebody that has experience help him or
Yeah,
give him. That's what I think. I said you just have to listen to me. Doesn't mean you have to do it,
yeah,
but And so far, I haven't. The only thing I want him to do is I really feel like his half-ounce football jig is not really a football shape. When you look at it, it's more of an oval,
yeah.
and it is and we're trying to talk him into calling it the AT4 jig, and because you can drop it in a cedar, you can pull it across a point, and you can't take a normal a football jig and drop it in a bush. But I did and do and have.
And still
So
will.
and have taken the purse home
Yeah.
several times doing it. So I'm trying to talk him into, and he's like, well, what would we do? I said, well, you get your manufacturer to produce a 5/8 football jig head, and we'll just put it in place in the football line. You'll
Hmm.
gain one skew, and then this will just be the kind of the AT4, the all-terrain jig. It kind of covers a lot of things, and I like to bob it. It's like then it's a really stout finesse jig.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bigger finesse jig, if
Yeah.
you will. Then,
Hey, and the hook don't bend, does it?
no, I mean, I don't want a massively thick hook to the point where it's going to come off every. No, you
Hmm.
don't get that barb penetration. And then you're out of position half the time. You got to figure about half the time you're getting only 70% or 65% of your hook set to the fish. So I want a hook that's a little thinner diameter, especially if I'm smallmouth fishing. I'll tell you, Table Rock has taught me several times. I'll throw my football jig out on the point. I'll feel that, and I'll really set the hook, and it's a giant smallmouth. Jumps, fights like crazy, bulls, net him. I'm like, oh, you can't even see the jig. And hey, wait, Dave, we can't even open his mouth. And I literally open that fish's mouth like this. And the jig is laying in there, and you let go, and it slaps his mouth shut. You're like, Jesus Christ. He was holding that jig so tight, crazy mad, that when you set the hook, the jig didn't move. It didn't penetrate. And he was so mean, just mean to the core, that he won't even let you. You literally have to open the smallmouth upside down and shake the jig. It falls out of it. And if he's a keeper, you're keeping him, or if it's practice, you're letting him go. But he's like got a hold of your thumb and won't let go. You could hang him up by that. I mean, they're crazy angry fish to begin with. And you got to remember that when they bite, sometimes they will not be like a largemouth or a spotted bass and just kind of hold it in their mouth. They'll bite down on it and literally prevent you from getting we call them rubber lips for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the fact.
That's why a lot of
They tend to jump and come off.
Yeah.
Especially when they're long ways away and it's a long hook set and all that stuff, old rubber lips is just gonna make you talk to yourself for 30 minutes.
You're not wrong about that. You are not wrong. And yeah, you're right. A lot of the times, like at night, especially whenever we're night fishing for them, you'll have either like if you're dragging a big worm, you'll have like your worm bit off, or you'll have your craws bit off of your jig, and
They're mean. They do. They won't let go. And then, but you think about it, a really big smallmouth does the same thing. We've seen it at Stockton too, where they actually didn't have anything in there. I mean, if they just opened their mouth, they'd get away.
Yeah.
But they were so, I don't know.
They're
angry.
mean.
I don't know. I don't know if they're angry, obviously, but they're acting like they are.
Oh
Or
yeah.
they're just not going to share.
They're
This is
aggressive.
mine. I'm not sharing. Mine, 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 mine.
Yeah.
Attitude.
And that's why we love catching them.
You put them in the live well and they sit there and beat themselves up and you're like, wow. Should we just let him go, or is he just going to kill himself, or what?
No, I had one jump out. Have you had one of that?
I don't know. They're just mean.
Have you had one jump out on you?
Catch largemouths. I really prefer to catch largemouths in a tournament setting. I mean, just because if you you're going to get the largemouth in for the most part. The smallmouths, it's not always going to be the greatest.
Yeah.
They're not, half of them get in, 60% of them get in.
Yeah.
They jump too much.
You wanna
Come off at the net, make you like I said, make you talk to yourself for hours.
Yeah. You wanna walk us through some of your like latest wins on like Saturday and the other?
Gosh.
I just kind of
FX series has been good to me this year. That we've had that series at Truman, and the guy pays real well. And I don't know if you can see him. I got a bunch of those big checks back there, big paper checks. The very first one of the year, I fished alone, and I won it. The second one, my partner Joe Dorsey and I fished, and we came in third. We had a chance to win it, honestly. And then the most recent one that I'm editing right now, you haven't seen yet. It'll be the next video, the third FX series, and I guess I'll let it out because it won't. Your podcast won't be out for a little bit, but so we do win that, and that's two of those wins in one 4-tournament season seems.
that's awesome.
And
That's awesome.
the first one wasn't with motion, but as soon as we put motion on, we've won more than that. We won a USA Bass, and we won a couple Average Joes. It's been a pretty good little run, and I really thought it was over, but they come in spurts for some reason. I will say that, and you can my wife says you can kind of see it. We kind of know what months. June's a real good month for Dave, and so is March, and I can see the plaques. All trophies usually have the months on them. February is another good one for me. But yeah, I remember my very first big win was December the 5th of 99. It was what was the name of that derby? The poor guy had a tournament trail for about 3 or 4 years, and then he passed away. But it was like 214 boats. I won over 10 grand. Wow. And I bought my wife's wedding ring with it. I ever did. I went into Jocelyn's. It was snowy the 2 weekends after that, and I said, "I got this a couple weekends ago. I need to buy my wife a big, big, big diamond. My wife to be, still my wife today." So
I'd be buying some. I'd be buying some graphs or something if I were to win something.
Hold on, 99. Think about this.
Yeah,
flip phones.
10 grand. That's all.
We had the old tracks. The 4-wheel drive old tracks was our That was a great trolling motor. I mean, you could run it over the stumps at Truman, and that big spring bends it up, pushes you back off of them. I mean, so no, it was you weren't gonna buy a whole bunch of that stuff. I can remember. I think in like 2002 or 2003, I bought a big Humminbird side imaging unit. Spent $3,000 on it, which was a lot of money back then. And I can remember we're at Lake of the Ozarks, right across Shawnee Bend in one of those big pockets. It was with Steve. And we were looking at this thing going, wow. And we come across in between two docks, and here is this sea-doo hoist on the bottom. I'm like, wow, look, that's a sea-doo hoist. And look, there's two fish on it. Look, that one looks big. And I remember I just threw it in neutral, never even turned the boat off, reached up and grabbed my big worm. And I said, it's about right over there, isn't it? And I threw over there, and it had a big half-ounce weight on it, fell down. Remember I was lifting it up going, dang, dang. Against that, I could tell it's metal. And that's metal. We're on. Then all of a sudden, ding. I was like, uh-oh, 4-pounder in the bottom of the boat. And we were both like, that's cheating. We're at the exact same moment then that we're having right now with forward facing, but it wasn't as a big of a moment. But I can still remember thinking, wow, what if we could point that out in front of the trolling motor?
Dave was the inventor of forward facing.
We were like, at that point, we were like, oh my God, we'd have never known that was there unless we idled over it.
Yeah.
And you don't tend to idle over it because all we had was down back then was down. And so here was this side. And so you could go along a dock and see everything and go down 10 docks and know those two are the ones we need to fish, and to hell with the rest of them.
Yeah.
And so I can remember Steve and I were looking at each other at that 4-pounder in the bottom of the boat, my hair on my arm standing up. And I was like, we're cheating. That's cheating. We'd have never known. That's cheating. And we were like, okay, well, they say it's okay. So
fair game.
fair game. And sure enough, it is amazing what that side imaging. I mean, I haven't made it official yet, but Humminbird and Johnson Control Electronics, Johnson, who owns it all, came to me and wants to be a part of the channel now. So it will appear that I'll have Humminbird, and I'm going to have what do they call that? Mega Live 2.
Mega Live, yeah.
Mega Live 2. So, and it's a neat thing too, because they're going to help out. They're going to help financially. And so, because really, I mean, if I was doing it like the other guys, I'd have a guy that I had to pay $80,000 just to do these videos. That's about what an editor costs. I think even for a guy like Scott Martin, he's probably paying that guy in the over 100 mark to travel with him and to edit and do that. That's a career. But those guys make it work with the massive amount of monetization and massive amount of sponsorship. So we're just a little channel getting a few little sponsors here and there, but we're really gonna try to help the sponsors that are helping us. And it helps when you have a great product. So that's obviously what Motion has done.
That's what I told Bobby. I was like, dude, he's like, man, thanks for helping out. I'm like, it's kind of easy whenever it's a good product.
It's a good product. It is.
I don't have to lie.
No.
And that's what I tell everybody.
He's got like high school angler kids working there, buying those jigs, paying them an hourly rate kind of thing. So I'm when I saw that's gonna turn my switch.
That's pretty cool.
So I don't know why they buy the damn thing. That's for sure. So I can't explain that other than you put it there in front of them. Boy, gosh, the color they must really look like a green-eared sunfish. I think is what Gill Candy really does. And
for us on Table Rock, that Gill Candy really, really looks like the crawfish we have.
We do. I'm gonna tell you this. I literally on video recently, 5-pounder pulled. I was like, ooh, that looks like that hurts. It's got a pincher hanging out of its. I mean, Ow! You'd be screaming. I got to do this for you. And I pulled it out. And sure,
Man.
it's bright orange. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I would consider not eating them if this
The side
how
effect.
this went down. So whatever.
Like,
Usually they end up throwing them up in your live well. If you notice,
yeah.
when you're really catching fish and they're eating a lot of crawfish, you're gonna know. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
they barf in your live well, and the bottom of your live well is covered in orange pinchers.
Yeah. Yeah. Or in the wintertime here on
Right,
Table Rock.
wintertime, for sure, we get a lot of that at like the Ozarks. Right now at Truman, you're liable to get a big slimy white guy, and that's a little greener sunfish with no skin.
I
And
have.
they are. They're not. It doesn't seem. You'll watch them chase and eat the shad, but when they catch a big one, if it's got something in its belly, it's a looking down in there. I can tell the tail. It's a it's a sunfish. It's a green-eared sunfish. They're relatives, but they hate each other.
Ain't it crazy how, like, from lake to lake, the forage is different?
Green-eared sunfish do that. They're gonna they're gonna forage on things that travel that deep too. So it's a different lake. You got like a lake
Yeah.
with so many more variables that compared to a lake with a normal stain in it. Usually when I've won big money, it's been in the James Arm on that lake. I mean, that 30-pound bag came out of the James.
The
Um,
the James Arms is a good one. It really
well,
is.
it wasn't very far up in it. It wasn't like I was just a couple miles up in it. So it
Yeah.
wasn't very far up from Kimberling City. Of course, in the winter, you don't have to fish very far. And back then, they hadn't seen the table. That day was the strangest day. The lake was 10 feet low. The slime balls that normally are down the tree, say around 20 foot,
Mm-hmm.
are up, visible to your eye, 5 to 6 feet, and big slimy things. And if you touch that, it will just get all over your bait, and you're going to have to clean it off. And I don't know why it grows there at Table Rock, but it does.
Yeah.
So this day was the craziest thing. We were coming by one of those big snot balls, was what we were calling them. It's
Mm-hmm.
green, snotty, and by God, a giant bass came out of there. And I was like, "Did you see that? We are unhooking a 6-pounder a couple days before that event on a tree that I donned the magic tree." Because the day before or the weekend before I caught that 30-pound sack, I caught a 906, the biggest table rock bass I've ever caught. And when I reached down to grab that fish and looked down, there were 4 other bass bigger than that one right there. And they had all come off that tree. We went to that tree that morning. I remember I told James, I said, I'm going to throw across this tree and I get bit. What I want you to do is an end cast. I don't want you to go for the net because all the fish are going to come with that fish.
Yeah.
And I want your bait to be back behind my bait. And so, sure enough, I caught a 476 spot on the first cast on that magic tree.
That's a big spot.
And James was his name. He wasn't a really great bass fisherman. Matter of fact, he got in the boat with only 3 poles that day. And he reared back on that A-rig I'd set up for him, and he looked at me and he said, "Damn, Dave, I got that magic tree." And I said, "James, lay back on that. Will you lay back on that?" And he laid back on that, and he said, "Oh God, Dave, it's moving." It was his personal bass. He got all shaky. He's like, "Oh God, Dave, it's huge." And it was an 898,
Dang.
but it wasn't big fish. It took a 9-pounder that day to It had 9 pounds to get into that big fish category.
That's crazy.
That
You
Joe Bass. That was Joe Bass 2013. Yep, I got that plaque right up there.
That's not that long ago either. If you think
2013.
about
But
it,
that's when it was. That's the peak, man. I'm telling you, that was the peak. 8 years after that's the bottom of the valley. So then it comes up from there.
because
There's
we
a
had
8-year cycle to our legs. At least
wow.
that's what I've read. That's what the brainiacs think. I tend to it's got to be some cycle to it. I don't know that 8 or 5 or 7. I would depend. That probably depends on the body of water itself.
Yeah.
So, but no, love me some bass fishing. That's obvious.
Yeah. No, and I enjoy watching your videos. They're entertaining too. Not only
Well,
educational, but
we're not quiet guys.
that's the fun of it.
I could probably have an adult content only kind of thing where we leave the swear words in and leave the really, really raunchy stuff in, and it'd be even funnier. But I don't know. Got a lot of high school anglers. I don't know. I'm compelled to want to not be that way.
No, and that's all right because I watch it a lot of the times with my 9-year-old son. So,
Right. I
and
mean,
there's a lot of
and
us like
people say
that.
they run them in their houses or they run them at their bait stores. It can't be, it can't be a whole bunch of bad language.
No,
And
yeah.
I'm not, I'm a sinner. I'm going to tell you, I got a potty. I'm in the car business. I work with body shop guys. I fix cars. You can, I
Yeah.
deal with adjusters every day.
Oh, those alone,
I promise you.
those
I hear you. I
alone,
got a tongue.
the adjusters. I deal with adjusters too, but in a different aspect in construction. Those
Right,
those
yeah.
people alone will either make you a drunk or insane.
It gives me a really sharp, because I'm in the repair business, and hail damage is kind of our specialty.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
you deal with them a lot.
I do what I'm, daily, daily. This afternoon, it is what it is, and I've been in it so long. Most of them love me, and they
Mhm.
just want to know what I think. Can it be fixed? A lot of times, I get the jobs that are
Yeah.
right up there to the edge, but it is what it is. It's good pay and it allows me to, yeah, somewhat control my. If the business hadn't gotten real big, I'd be better off. I could take more time off, but we got that sucker rolling, so there's no, can't hardly turn it off now. So,
Yeah, that's not a
but
bad thing
The
either.
YouTube thing doesn't pay well enough right now to really sustain itself.
Yeah.
I mean, we're probably gonna this year will probably be the first year that we maybe break even, so to speak, if you want to think of it that way. You can't. I guess you'd have to put my accountant put some kind of cost on my abilities to edit. And we make it
Oh
so
no,
that
the editing part.
it is what it is. The editing is where it's sit down and it's not so fun.
No.
I can catch them better than I can.
Yeah. 100%. I actually just finished editing one of my videos before I came here, and it was a 15-minute video, and that sucker took me, I don't even know how many hours. I was just sitting. It took me a while. Probably every bit of 5-6 hours.
The GoPro breaks it down into 17-minute blocks, so everything's is a big file. It's just everything takes a while. Then it takes a while to drop. If you're going to drop 10 of those into your startup disk, it's going to take quite a bit of time. Nothing happens real fast. It's kind of slow. I don't know that I thought I could. I never knew I could do it till when crazy. He tossed me 159 feet down the highway or down the road from impact to that. But I was at the rev limiter. I saw him coming. The streets were wet. But I'll tell you what, I've can kind of play guitar and I can edit. And I'm going to tell you that I don't have any training to do either. And you read these stories about these people having these life altering, being in a coma. They wake up and they're a concert pianist or a violinist. I've read
Hmm.
2 stories about people that, like, I mean, it just upsets your whole way of thinking when you read about this and how that just isn't possible, right?
Yeah.
How can that woman now play like a violin that she's never picked up? Not only can she play, she can be the first chair at the Philharmonic. She's like wildly good, like savant like skills from these impacts. And so who knows what happened in there. But I didn't die and I thrived maybe off of it a little. I don't know. So that's a crazy story, I know.
Well,
And that's
that's
takes your mind
insane.
out to that edge.
Wow.
I have some skills now that I didn't have before that crash.
Wow.
So who knows? I mean, it's a religious thing. I mean, I'm a little bit of that, a little more religious in in me too now. It just is what it is
Hmm.
because that was an impact that
That's a life
they
altering.
set those fire trucks up like this, and the fire captain said that guy's dead, and I popped open the door and got out. Here's a true story. The fireman was like, God, you can't stand up. Get back down in there. I said, I'm not standing. And he said, don't move your neck. Oh my God. He put his hands up like this. It was raining. So I was doing this. I was like, don't do that. He said, what hurts? I said, damn, my right shoulder hurts. He said, it should be your other shoulder. No, I said, no, I caught 40 smallmouth the last 2 days. I was at Bull Shoals 2 days before I got in that car wreck. And the
Oh
guy's
my
like, Captain,
goodness.
he says his shoulder hurts because he got 40 smallmouth. He's either
What?
crazy or maybe he's dying. I don't know. I was like, fruit, man. You need to get in that. It made me walk over and get in the ambulance. Get in the ambulance.
It's like, now I'm walking home. Leave me alone.
Oh, God damn, you're supposed to be on the gurney. We're supposed to have you all strapped down. You're not supposed to be doing it.
Dave's over here. Let me show you what I'm
I
gonna do.
did. I was like, at first he's like putting hands on me. I said, bro, don't think I wanted what? I said, I'll knock you out.
I just
Hold me like that again. We're going down to the coast. Okay.
That's funny. That is funny.
True story.
Oh man.
But
Yeah, that's a life.
so I think I gained some skills from that. I know that's crazy thinking and not real. Can't put any real proof on it, but I think I picked up some skills. I think that happened to me when I was about 47, 6, something like that.
That's
But
crazy. That's
crazy
crazy.
stuff. I got stories like that I could tell you all day long. And they get wilder, but I could probably tell them all.
Yeah. Oh well, we're about a little over an hour now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty
All
quick.
good with me.
That
You
was
just
pretty.
you just set me up for another one
I
sometime,
will.
and we'll talk again.
Oh, I will for sure, Dave. I appreciate it. Hey, one more question: are you going to fish the solo series this Sunday or no? I know this is going to be airing later, but I'm fishing.
Is that Randy's
Yeah.
circuit?
Yeah.
I just haven't. He just travels too far for me. I mean, if I didn't have this business that just requires me to be there now to the
Yeah.
point where there's so many expensive cars in today's world, and
Hmm.
somehow I've kind of gotten to the top of this pyramid, and now I have to be the one. It can't be my son or somebody else that does it pretty good. It has to be me. So I don't know. That's
Yeah.
kind of a negative part of it, but
Yeah.
I
What?
kind of wish the business hadn't have done quite as good, but I get to fish more. And that's the real goal, right?
That is.
That's the real goal.
That's why we do all of this.
Success. All that business success leads to one thing.
Yeah.
More fishing.
Yeah.
If you do it right. I didn't do mine quite right,
Right.
but
We all learn.
success. And so I don't know. He travels so far. He goes to all these different lakes, and I used to be that guy, but anymore I'm not. I got so much time. I need to produce good content. I need to fish where I know I'm gonna be around them because I know it well. So that pretty much is like 3 or 4 lakes. Anytime we're starting to put Table Rock or Grand in there's a real good chance that it's depending on the time of year, there's a chance it's not going to be good. Grand is okay. I've done okay there, but Table Rock, boy, if it's not cold and they're not thinking about spawning and they're out in the wide open, man, I
Yeah.
don't like fizzing fish. I really don't.
Yeah.
Really strong feelings on what it does to them. 2, 3 weeks later, you drag their coating on the outside of a bass is their immune system. All the bad is on the outside. And when you needle, that needle drags that right into them, gives them a massive infection, ends up turning them all fuzzy, eyeballs fuzzy, their immune system gone, kills them. And we fizz, and you have
I
to
see.
fizz them. Goddamn, they can't let them go. It just ruins the table rock fishing. So that's, for me, that's what ruins the deep water fishing for me, is having to fizz them to
I
keep them in your box.
yeah. During the
And
winter, I
do
don't.
they survive that? I'm a firm believer they don't. Now, there'll be guys that say I'm wrong, and they're entitled to their opinion
Yeah.
because I'm no expert at it. But you can then do it through their crusher as long as you don't nick that vein. And there is no, but anytime, they have a spot where they can get an infection, and obviously they get an infection and they might not survive it. So it is
I,
what it is.
oh no,
It's
you're right.
fishing. They're a renewable resource, though. That's one thing. We do have to convince Missouri to start stocking bass. They have a policy to stock Micropodus salmorti, which is largemouth. They will spend an enormous amount of money, almost half of our whole budget, raising smallmouth for the Gasconade River, which, is something that I think needs to occur.
Don't they
But
reproduce
we don't
themselves there?
need to produce so many hybrids and so many walleyes for these
Yeah.
lakes. I,
You're
I,
right.
I just don't think so. I think that it's the wrong people. It's just we just need to clean house and start over. And they just going to have to put largemouth bass as something that they are going to have to. I mean, we got lakes that are silting in. They go up in northern ends of Truman out there, way up, and they say they can survey for 2, 3 hours and not find a single bass. It's because it's so silted in up there, the bass can't get off the nest. Crappies are thick, hybrids are up there. The state of Missouri thinks everything's okay because more people come hybrid and crappie fishing than bass fishing is what their mentality, their opinion is.
I'm sure
I
if
don't think they can have that. That's, in my opinion, that's completely wrong. You have to have an even keel all the way across.
yeah.
You can't put crappie guys above the walleye guys or the bass guys or the hybrid guys above the bass guys. It's got to be even. And if there's a need at Truman and some other lakes, there's a need. We have areas of the lake that need bass. And why aren't we putting them in then? Well, they really just think that they are where their word is what is the word of God. And that's how it is. And actually, I think it should be more we the people, you know. We the people decide what you should do, not you.
Yeah.
So we'll get that changed. I'm actually, they've expressed that they don't like me talking about this. So I talk about it every chance I get. They don't stock largemouth in the state of Missouri. And well, hey, if they don't and they think it's a problem funding wise, let's have a bass stamp.
Yeah.
Well, that we spend another $10. If you're a tournament fisherman, you have to have a bass stamp, and that money goes for one thing and one thing only, and that's
Stocking.
restocking largemouth, where we want them to go, not where you think they should go.
Yeah.
So that's going to change. I bet that changes in the next 4 or 5 years. Yeah, we're
That'd be.
just bass fishing isn't gonna go away, and
Oh no, it's
and
only
they
getting
actually have
bigger.
the biggest problem with silt in the system will hurt the largemouth reproduction first. So maybe it's just they're not understanding the science of it exactly, or maybe they're not following the science, and maybe just we the people can change that.
Maybe.
So that's how I think. I really believe that when we unite and we unite even peacefully, we can push a lot of weight. We
Yeah.
can make things happen.
Yeah.
And I'm
Agreed.
sure we can change their mind that they need to stock largemouth. Just do.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir. I appreciate you coming on, Dave. I
no,
did it.
love it. And
I'll
yeah, I'll
try.
get to
I'll try
speak
to
to my
get you.
sponsors. So have
Oh,
me on. I'm going to have a whole bunch of new sponsors. I'm actually
hold on. Hold
talking
on.
to,
I was gonna
trying to
get
get
you.
a.
I was gonna get you to. I was gonna ask you who you want to thank and
Okay.
where we can
Well, we
follow
want to
you
we
and
want to
find you.
we want to thank some we want to thank some people. First off, Klaus Fink with Anglers Port Marine. He's the guy who puts his money down for those incentives,
Yeah.
those big incentives that those guys are winning, that $10,000 at the Anglers in Action. So Klaus, he's the guy that owns Anglers Port Marine, and he's a great guy, and he's you know don't be afraid of his name. He's done, I mean, that it sounds like a foreigner. If he's not. He's definitely not. He is 100% redneck. So thank him and thank Phoenix Boat, Greg Wood with Phoenix Boat. He's pivotal in that. And Mercury Marine, definitely. They've I remember they didn't like me in the very beginning, but now they do. So, and of course Bobby Roberts with Motion. And
Yeah.
we'll get with all the big sponsors. I'll list them out when it's all official. It's not truly official, but I'm even halfway to getting a diesel truck in my driveway. And my wife says I can't have one because of the expense of it and that it doesn't really do anything but tow better, where my Dodge is getting almost the same gas mileage that the diesel will get. So I have a hard time convincing her that it's anything but, that diesel pulls better. You can barely tell it's back there.
Yeah.
So,
Better on the ramps too.
right, everything. I'm trying to put a truck manufacturer in the mix too. I may or may not get it done, but I'm sure trying.
Good
So
job, Dave.
maybe I'll have a bunch of good news.
That's inspiring. I'm telling you, that's very inspiring. I can't wait. I can't wait till you start dropping them new sponsors and see what you got. Like I said, but see, that's the thing. I geek out because I've been following you since literally the beginning. So
It's hard. I could get a car dealership to do it, but I'm trying to get the actual manufacturer to do it.
that's a little harder,
That way,
huh?
then they sell you the truck way, way, way back of invoice, and then I sell it each year, and then I scoop a little bit of money, the
Hmm.
difference there, and that helps fund the channel. And
Yeah.
that's it's pretty hard to get anybody to write you a check these days. But if you could get them to do that, I mean, I think that's pretty much what most of these guys on their boats are doing that are really big deals. They get a really good deal, like even better than Klaus gets on
Hmm.
his boats. And then when they sell it, they might make a little money and fund their entrance fees or
For the
whatever
next
they
season.
have.
Yep.
And those guys, that's, I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard, some of those guys, might wind in 700,000 and turn around and spend 600,000.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, the stories. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, you listen to Randy Howell.
Mm.
He's got some incredible knowledge on how much it costs to really do the top level of sports, and then just be a man of God and tell the truth. So
Yeah.
he's really he's a good guy, and I've listened to his recordings about that, and it's incredible how much they bring in, and then what it costs between the campers and the trucks and entrance fees, and it's just on and on and on, and before they know it, they got to keep their winnings basically.
Yeah.
When it
That's why.
comes,
That's.
it's it's just crazy how expensive it is. So
Oh yeah.
uh, yeah,
There's
no,
a
sponsors
lot
are
of good.
important, and
There's a lot of good anglers that don't do it just because
right,
of the
because of how
cost.
expensive it is.
Yeah.
It is.
But yeah.
So no. Well, I got a rabbit coming to the front door, and my bird dog sees this. We're
Oh,
gonna have problems
you're
right
good.
here, right now. Oh my God, it's like on the front porch.
I get
Look at
rabbit. I have rabbits all over my yard too.
I've got a German short hair pointer named Tink. She
Oh,
doesn't like rabbits. Well, she likes them. She just wants to
she wants to.
carry them around.
That's funny.
So
All right, Dave. Appreciate you coming on, man. I'm gonna have to get back to with you and try to do another one.
for sure, for
All
sure.
right. Thanks, Dave, again, and
All right.
we'll see you on the
Look
water.
forward
Or
to you.
do what?
And hey, definitely check me out on YouTube. If your viewers haven't, they need to check me out. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. I should be there, honestly, but I'm not. So anything your subscribers
Oh
or
yeah,
watchers could do,
check them
get
out on
there.
Fish
I think
30.
it's like maybe 7,900, 7,800, something like that. I don't know what it is, but it's not 10,000. And they give you a little plaque when you get to 10,000. And
Mm-hmm.
they actually, I think they bump your view per
Yeah.
your PMI up, so
Mm-hmm.
you get paid a little bit more the more you subscribers you have. I may be totally wrong on
No,
that.
I think
But
you're
from what
right.
I am, there's you had to have like 1,000 subscribers to start and 4,000 viewing hours, but there's no change in pay to 10,000 subscribers. So that's a at least in the tournament bass fishing stuff. That doesn't get as many views as you would think. There's just not that many of us
Yeah.
that really are diehards. So,
And most of the people watching are the ones competing against you.
well, I get it. Well, you say that, but I get believe it or not, I'm hanging with some very big names. I get to see who else is out there doing it. Some big names. I mean, big names that are on the elites, and I'm matching them in views.
Yeah.
So, and I have 206 videos that are fairly relative. I mean, I guess because they continually get viewed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like my old stuff doesn't get views. I get to, I can see it's it's going to get at least 30 to 50 views every video every
Yeah.
month, no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's even if it's 3 or 4 years old. So it must be relative to some people. So to your viewers, if they're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We're gonna have a t-shirt company and all kinds of cool stuff coming. But right now, to help us get to that 10,000 mark, that would be a goal of Fish 30 and the people that watch is to get me to 10,000 subscribers. It's a lot harder than you think.
It is.
So anything you could do to help would be greatly
Will
appreciated.
do.
And by all means, make sure that everybody fishes. Wears
Yes,
their
sir.
life jacket and kill switch.
Yes, sir. For sure. All right, Dave.
gang.
We're gonna
I
see
gotta
you.
go get the bird dog before this rabbit's on the front porch.
All right, Dave. Thanks
you,
again, man.
7-pound smallmouth.
No.
And they made him fillet it.
Not a smallmouth. Not a smallmouth. Not a smallmouth.